You might be a person who is completely musi, away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you see yourself as a muhsin. You see yourself as a person who excels, a good doer. Why? Because you're with someone who's in a worse state than you. And so you see virtue in yourself. That's a powerful idea. If you're around people with no standards, then your standards are going to fall. Your standards are going to fall. And then you're going to look at yourself and you say, maybe I'm not so bad. Right? I'm ahead of the game. Because if I compare myself to this group of people, then I see that I'm doing really good. I'm doing really well. So sahibul himma, a person who has ambition to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should surround himself with people of himma. People who also have that ambition to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to be intentional about forming those relationships. And to not be shackled by the standards that have been set by previous friendships and previous relationships. And if you can't see the difference in your heart after being around someone who reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being around someone who has no connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're probably not being honest with yourself. If you don't see an actual difference in your heart and in your own hal, your own being, by just being around people who remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or being around people who remind you of the opposite. And so, dear brothers and sisters, at the end of this all, one of the things that we learn from those that came before us is that our relationships are not just limited to those that are living. When the Prophet ﷺ passed away from this world, he already established a relationship with us. He already established a relationship with us. He already talked about his love for us. Sometimes the relationship that you have with the people of the past, wallah, you could feel like they're your friends. You could feel like they're your companions. You read about great people and no greater people than the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, you might start feeling like you have a connection to them and that they're your own companions. They're your own friends. Sometimes those are the relationships that'll get you through the hard times. Sometimes those are the relationships that'll give you the nasiha, that'll give you advice when you can't find any advisor amongst the ahya, amongst those that are alive around you. So at-ta'alluq bin Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa bi ashabihi, to connect yourself to the Prophet ﷺ and to his companions. And to his companions. Those who Allah is pleased with, in hopes that even when I'm reading their stories, even from the books, their habits and their ways and their perceptions and their perspectives will rub off on me. And I'll start to find that that shifts my worldview as well, and that becomes my way as well.